The night was quiet, the neon lights of Lou City flickering in the distance. At the entrance of a bar, people gathered, each with their own story.
How much do you think you're worth?
For the night, 1,000.
This was the first time Susan met John. While everyone else dressed to impress, he stood out in a simple basketball jersey, sweat glistening on his face.
Interesting.
Susan felt a strange desire rise within her. She handed him a wad of cash, and he followed her into a private room.
Come in and close the door.
John obeyed but stood there, frozen.
You can take a shower now.
Okay.
John walked to the bathroom, looking as if he was heading to his doom. Once he entered this world, there was no turning back. 10 minutes later, he emerged, dripping wet, a towel wrapped around his waist.
You can start now.
John nodded but did nothing else, his gaze avoiding hers.
How do I start? It's my first time.
The room fell silent, Susan's eyes widened in disbelief.
What?
Susan had never wanted a first-timer. Her face darkened.
You can leave now.
John panicked, thinking she wanted the money back. He knelt down, pleading.
I can do it. I can do anything. Please don't send me away. I really need that money.
Before she could react, John grabbed her shoulders and kissed her. Her mind went blank, and passion took over. That night was a whirlwind of passion and ecstasy. Afterward, Susan handed John a contract.
You will come to my villa every Friday. No other women. 10,000 a month.
John signed the contract without hesitation. For 3 years, he was like a pet, obedient and improving under her guidance. Susan treated him well, showering him with gifts and money. She thought this arrangement would last indefinitely, until one day.
Susan, let's end this.
Susan felt the heat of the moment, her blood boiling as John clumsily kissed her. She took control, pushing him down with a fervor that led to a night of passion and ecstasy.
John, I have a proposition for you. She handed him a contract. Just come to my villa every Friday, fulfill my needs, and I'll pay you 10,000 a month. Just don't see other women.
John signed the contract without hesitation, and their arrangement lasted for 3 years. John, like a well-trained pet, obeyed Susan's every command, and she rewarded him generously with luxury items and his regular payment.
You've been doing well, John. Here, a gift for you. She handed him a brand new luxury watch.
John never asked for these gifts, but Susan prided herself on treating him well. But today, everything changed. John walked into the villa with an air of finality.
Susan, let's end this.
Susan's body stiffened, and she paused, the spoon in her hand hovering over her coffee. She stood up, walked towards John, and traced a finger from his neck to his chest, pressing hard.
Saved enough money, and now you want to leave me?
Yes.
His straightforwardness angered Susan. She slapped him hard, then poured hot coffee over him. John remained silent, his eyes downcast.
Which woman caught your eye? Younger, prettier? Or can she make you happier? Speak!
John endured her wrath silently, which only infuriated Susan more. She kicked him hard, stepping on him as if disciplining a disobedient pet.
John, you'd better give up. Our relationship started with me, and it should end with me. You are just my plaything, not qualified to say no, understand?
John remained silent, his face expressionless. Susan's fury knew no bounds. She kicked him repeatedly, showing no mercy. An hour later, her anger subsided. She sat down, panting, and lit a cigarette, watching as John staggered to his feet and limped out of the villa. He'll come back, she thought, begging for more money at my feet. Just as she was about to go upstairs for a bath, her phone buzzed with an anonymous text. Want to know where John went? Go to Lou City Hospital, there will be a surprise.
Who are you? She replied.
There was no response. Driven by curiosity, Susan went to Lou City Hospital and used her status to get John's itinerary. He was visiting a room on the 3rd floor. Peeking in, she saw a young woman nestled in John's arms. Their intimate posture indicated an unusual relationship. Susan's heart ached with betrayal.
John, you want to run off with another woman without asking for my permission?
She grabbed John and pressed him against the wall, her anger boiling over. The night was filled with passion and ecstasy, a whirlwind of emotions that left Susan breathless.
John, here's a contract. Just come to my villa every Friday and fulfill my needs. As long as you don't see other women, I'll pay you $10,000 a month.
John glanced at the contract, his face expressionless, and then signed it without hesitation. For the next 3 years, John was like a pet, obedient to Susan's every command.
John, you've been doing well. Here's a luxury watch as a reward.
Despite never asking for gifts, John received luxury watches, branded clothes, and limited edition sneakers. But today, everything changed when John walked into the villa.
Susan, let's end this.
Susan looked at John's handsome face up close and felt his clumsy kiss. Her blood heated up, boiling and burning.
Excited, I took control and pushed him down.
That night was a whirlwind of passion and ecstasy. Afterward, Susan handed John a contract.
You only need to come to my villa every Friday to fulfill my needs. As long as you don't see other women, I will pay you $10,000 a month.
She didn't say anything about why he needed the money or who he spent it on. Unsurprisingly, John signed the contract. The night was a whirlwind of passion and ecstasy.
John, I need you to sign this contract. You only have to come to my villa every Friday to fulfill my needs. I'll pay you $10,000 a month, as long as you don't see other women.
Fine, Susan. I'll sign it.
This arrangement lasted for 3 years. John was like a pet, obedient to Susan's every command. Under her guidance, his skills improved, and she looked forward to their meetings more and more.
John, you've been doing well. Here, I bought you a luxury watch.
Thank you, Susan.
Though John never asked for any of these gifts, Susan prided herself on treating him well. One day, John entered the villa with a somber expression.
Susan, let's end this.
Looking at John's handsome face up close and feeling his clumsy kiss, Susan's blood heated up, boiling and burning. She took control and pushed him down. That night was a whirlwind of passion and ecstasy. Afterward, Susan handed John a contract. He only needed to come to her villa every Friday to fulfill her needs, and as long as he didn't see other women, she would pay him $10,000 a month.
This is all you need to do. Why you need the money or who you spend it on is none of my business.
Unsurprisingly, John signed the contract. This arrangement lasted for 3 years. John was like a pet Susan kept, obedient to her every command. Under her guidance, his skills improved, and she looked forward to their meetings more and more.
Pleasing me naturally comes with rewards. While dogs get bones, you get luxury watches, branded clothes, and limited edition sneakers. Consider it part of your payment.
Though he never asked for any of these, Susan prided herself on treating him well. She thought their arrangement would continue indefinitely, until today.
Susan, let's end this.
Looking at John's handsome face up close and feeling his clumsy kiss, Susan's blood heated up, boiling and burning.
I took control and pushed him down.
That night was a whirlwind of passion and ecstasy. Afterward, Susan handed John a contract.
You only need to come to my villa every Friday to fulfill my needs. As long as you don't see other women, I will pay you 10,000 a month.
She didn't ask anything else. Why he needed the money or who he spent it on was none of her business. Unsurprisingly, John signed the contract. This arrangement lasted for 3 years. John was like a pet Susan kept, obedient to her every command. Under her guidance, his skills improved, and she looked forward to their meetings more and more.
Pleasing me comes with rewards. Dogs get bones, but you get gifts bought with money.
She prided herself on treating him well, buying him luxury watches, branded clothes, and limited edition sneakers, in addition to his regular payment. Though he never asked for any of these. She thought John and she would continue like this indefinitely, until today, when he entered the villa.
Susan, let's end this.
Susan felt her blood boiling as she looked at John's handsome face up close, feeling his clumsy kiss.
John, I'll take the lead this time.
She pushed him down, initiating a whirlwind of passion and ecstasy. Later on, Susan handed John a contract.
John, you only need to come to my villa every Friday to fulfill my needs. As long as you don't see other women, I'll pay you 10,000 a month.
John signed the contract without hesitation. For 3 years, this arrangement continued. John was like a pet, obedient to Susan's every command. Under her guidance, his skills improved, and she looked forward to their meetings more and more.
You've earned these gifts, John. Here, a luxury watch and some branded clothes.
John never asked for any of these, but Susan prided herself on treating him well. She thought it would last indefinitely until one day.
Susan, let's end this.